Tenet is directed by Christopher Nolan and stars John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Kenneth Branagh, and Elizabeth Debicki, and tells the story of the protagonist who is sent on a secret mission that involves inversion, and he's armed with one word named Tenet, and is trying to prevent the start of a possible World War III. Now that is my best description of the entire plot of the movie without getting into heavy spoilers. I'm not going to get into any plot details or anything because based off the box office returns, not a lot of people went to go see this film. It did not make any money, and that's due to the current pandemic. So just to respect anybody who still hasn't gotten a chance to see the film and are waiting for it to appear on Blu-ray, even though you probably heard many reviews, if you are hearing from me for the first time, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. You're safe with me. I'm not going to give anything away. I'm just going to talk about my overall thoughts on the film, some of the filmmaking details, and just talk about my overall general thoughts on the entire film. So, in terms of directing, Christopher Nolan is always going to be an A+, and he brings his A game here. The big set pieces that he's able to construct and add new ways of integrating the idea of inversion into these action sequences are mind-blowing. I barely notice a flaw in any of the special effects that are used, and that's mostly because he aimed to use more practical effects. The airplane crash that you see in the trailers is a real airplane that they used to crash into a building, and it was awesome to see. It was great to see practical effects in a scope like this be used, and it made the action sequences feel more grounded, more realistic, and just more exciting to watch. The characters overall are pretty good, especially the actors themselves. I think Robert Pattinson did a great job for what he's given. Amelia Debicki was great in the film. No, her name was Elizabeth Debicki. I need to remember her name more often. Kenneth Branagh, who plays the villain in the film, was absolutely amazing. You get only one scene with Michael Caine, and that's the scene that we've seen in the trailers, but he was still overall a welcome addition to the movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson has a much bigger role than I thought he did, and John David Washington in the film was absolutely fantastic. So I think his character, I felt like, could have been fleshed out a little bit more. He was still one of my favorite parts of the movie and adds a great 8 bit of layers to the entire plot overall in general. The action sequences themselves, as I said, were great for their use of practical effects, but the actual CGI and overall visual effects of those things, they were also flawless as well. Certain explosions, certain ways of using inversion to create some time looping, mind fucking effects. It was all great. And I did not just look at the screen and think, oh, this is just a scene, but just put into reverse and it looked cheap. No, it actually looked very real because characters are reacting to the entire situation in a way that felt realistic. And that was such a hard task to do, I feel, because you could easily have these actors react to this scene in a way that really doesn't work very easily. But in Christopher Nolan's hands, he was able to make that idea just feel more real than as it could be. And I think this movie couldn't have been made without this director. I think he was the perfect choice for this kind of concept. That I do feel like some of the dialogue could be a bit heavy-handed and pretentious. Overall, you don't really hear the dialogue as much because, unfortunately, the sound design is atrocious in some areas. There were some cases where the brilliant score by Ludwig Gordinsky, I'm sorry if I butchered his name wrong, who did a fantastic job on the score, would overlap the characters' dialogue and you cannot hear a word they are saying. Sometimes even the sound design overlaps the characters and in overall other sound designs as well. It will overlap each other and you just cannot hear anything except loud music or just big noises coming out from a scene. And it just really bothered me throughout the film. And I feel like that was intentional in Christopher Nolan's part because lately, ever since The Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar, he has been obsessed with big noises in his movies. But I feel like in this case, I don't think it worked as well as in those movies. I feel like it did a disservice to some of the scenes. It made me question what this scene was about because I cannot hear the dialogue of any of the characters. And that was probably my biggest problem was the sound design. It was just too loud and overlapped many of the scenes and made the film less intriguing in my opinion. But overall, that's my biggest issue with the film. I still think the film was well directed. The cinematography was absolutely beautiful. I think this is his best looking film to date. The action sequences are great. The characters are overall very good. And the plot, though, does require a bit of thinking and you have to pay attention to it a lot. I think overall worked. But the sound design and loud music, though fantastic, really was bothersome for the most part because it was just too loud. But overall, I still think while this is one of Christopher Nolan's lesser films, it is still a film worth checking out. And I'm going to give Tenet a B+. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.